Mr. Keto, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
We're
Good.
doing fine.
That's all that matters.
How you
Junior,
doing?
Junior driving.
Doesn't look like he's driving. Looks like he's participating.
Don't
That's
worry,
messed
the
up.
police officers will confirm that later.
I'll send you
No,
the
how are
bill.
you, doctor?
Yes, how you doing?
Well, let's see, after my second bout with COVID a couple weeks ago, I'm doing great. Can't you guys figure anything out?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Reed,
I don't know who else.
Okay,
is-
hello, people.
how you been?
Crazy but good.
Good. You know, last time I saw you, both of our hair was black. It's okay. Or at least I had some.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Been okay?
Yeah, just a
Well,
lot of things.
you
Keeping
working
very
in the hospital still?
active. What's that?
Are you still at the hospital?
No, I'm basically retired now,
Yeah.
but I'm
That's a
dealing
great
with
idea.
the, those of you who know the player I had who also referee, Ian, he has been accepted into the Royal Veterinary College in London, which he
Wow.
will be going to in September.
That's a tough
So-
commute.
It very much is.
You
But from
enjoy it, that's great.
it's yeah, it was a surprise to be accepted, and then
That's quite an honor.
yes,
That's really nice.
so
Good for you guys.
a couple of people might remember him from refereeing. He
Oh, yeah.
refereed,
Yeah.
but
Are you filming Jurassic Park while we're doing this? I see some animals flying.
one of a few.
Yeah. You know, about a 350 oven, a little garlic salt, they're perfect. Sorry, inappropriate. Peter will call it. Hold on, I'm making sure we checks in.
Yeah, you got 14 on.
Okay. Do we have? Where's Jeff? There he is. Can we unmute everybody else?
Joey has been.
You want everybody unmuted? Yeah, I can do that.
Except Keto, we can't sit in front of him.
All right, it's all you, Barry.
Okay. Not sure how many are muted or unmuted, but anyway, good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Obviously looking forward to the AGM. I was just getting over COVID for the second time. Everything's fine, but I have not seen if they've been published the potential rule changes. If they have, I haven't seen them yet, but I will be shortly, and we can discuss them at some other time. But
Yes,
has
they
anybody
have.
seen them or heard?
Yes, they have.
Okay,
were
they
in the
have?
last
Good.
email.
Tom, do you
Yeah.
have like
Yeah, Tom, you're on the board. I
Summary?
think I unmuted you. You're
Yeah,
good?
yeah, he
Yes.
had your time.
They have been posted
Tom, why don't you-
by email.
Okay,
It's in the last
So-
email from Carlton, the one that says about a meeting on a Sunday.
Okay.
Excuse me, let me close my door. I have a very loud code. Sorry. Yeah, there's two sets of rules. There's the one that we as a committee cleaned up the bylaws, and then there's the other one we proposed changes from the membership.
Is
So
that gonna
one of
be-
them is just one vote.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll try to pass it on a consent agenda. I have a feeling there will be, should I use the word sabotage? I think it might be sabotaged by somebody from Region C, but I'm not gonna mention their name.
Be nice.
Tom, did they, in the members' proposed changes, did they take into consideration the potential impact from the rewrite? You know how they did that one year where they said, well, if it does pass, the rewrite passes, then this is not necessary. And well, I mean, in other words, are we going to be there all afternoon?
I don't think there was that many like that. We might be there all afternoon if This is streamed live, so I'll tell you some other time.
No,
If somebody from Region C boycotts months and months and months of work because they didn't show up to any meeting, and then the last meeting they said, oh, whatever, then yes, we might be there for a while.
make it PG rated.
Yes. One of them is 56 pages long. The other one is 58 pages long. The member proposed ones are not that bad. It's a couple of cleanups or whatever. I know Danny has some about heading rules or whatever.
You can't change heading rules.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of this. I remember good old days when we used to say propose, approve, propose, deny. Right now, everything is decision of membership, which it's kind of, to me.
Unless I'm overridden, Jeff, you can't change heading rules because of,
US Youth.
yeah, the judge says no.
Yeah, that's my concern. Actually, Danny wrote them. I know he's not here. I know he's busy, but it's something to do with trying to mimic what they do in Texas or whatever. And Mike Strickler said that he's okay with it. I think he just gave up on it. My biggest concern about that one is that it's basically asking our referees who are doing 99 games at 9 o'clock, do this on a 99 game, at 10:30, do something else at 99 game. And then in one of the proposals, it even says this kid can head and this kid cannot on the same team. To me, that's ridiculous. You can't do that.
Putting the onus on the referee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's on the FUYSA website. So the link that Carlton sent in the email of yesterday, 3 a.m. He was busy, I guess. It's pointing to a FUYSA.com/assets/ There must be on a FUYSA website as well. Sorry, I have it. I have a copy of it. So, but I'm sure it's. If you need me to resend it, I can.
Let's see.
Yeah, Jeff, I just resent you Carlton's email. It's the one about a meeting this next coming Saturday and Sunday, potential Region A AGM on Saturday, the 23rd or 24th, if we are available, yes or no.
Gotcha.
Did everybody get that one?
So there's 2 links in there, is that right? Or is it
There's
just
3. There's a list of people running, and then there's 2 that are the proposed changes.
All right, let's throw that up in the chat.
The 58 pager is membership, and the 56 is the bylaw committee rewrite.
I cut and pasted that into the chat, so if anybody wants to take a look.
Yeah. The plan is, I don't know how it's going to work. The plan is to have Zoom roundtables to kind of hash this out. I think our first chance would be at the Carlton's meeting next weekend.
Has he gotten feedback on whether it's going to be Saturday or Sunday?
I said yes to both, but I don't know what, I think they're still looking for room.
We were talking about earlier today. Unfortunately, up in my area, not a whole lot of clubs that want to travel down that far south, but I made a few phone calls to make sure that let them know what's going on. And the only thing I can hope for is that all the ones that I called show up.
Russell, as of 1 p.m., they didn't have a location yet. Do you know if something changed?
No, we don't have a location yet.
Because I told them to talk to Shenoy about that hotel in Palm Beach that we go for our meetings. But, that might be too far north for some clubs. So I don't know. The most central location will be somewhere in Fort Lauderdale.
He called me to see if we could have it where we had the last meeting, Tom.
Okay.
The one that we did the DOC meeting a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, if anybody has connections with Inter Miami, maybe they can just give us a room.
Oh my God.
Good luck going into Miami. They don't give a room to themselves, so forget it.
We might.
And if anybody has any questions about either the rewrite version or the other one, next 2 weeks, whatever, just call me. I mean, I'll be more than glad to. If sometimes we didn't clarify exactly why we're doing something, because some of the stuff is, we combine a lot of rules and bylaws because it was repeated all over the place. And the people from this region, for the most part, it was Lee and myself. And I guess Jason is from Region A as well. Then everybody else was from somewhere else.
How did you
I-
feel about the way it came out, Tom?
I mean, listen, you win some, you lose some. When you have 5 people in a room, you know, and everybody kind of reads it differently, but I think overall I'm happy with it. We're not changing anything. Like in a rewrite portion, there's really nothing that we are changing, you know, unless it was completely in violation of something or is not what we're doing. So if he says, you know, you cannot smack it. Sorry, if he says you can smack a kid, but we meant to say you cannot smack a kid. Yes, we changed that 100% because it was
Sure.
typo, but it's not because we actually changed it. So I think that one is fine. I don't, again, if somebody doesn't boycott it, it'll pass the way it is. And if it doesn't pass the way it is, it's not the end of the world because it's really a lot of cleanups. I'm just concerned that one, if somebody continues questioning it, we'll get stuck in a room for a long time. And then either we'll just say, screw it, let it be. We've been working with it for the last 40 years, or we'll say, no, let's vote, and then it'll pass. There's nothing major there that we need to worry about. In the ones from the membership, like we talked in the last DOC meeting, the portion that has to do with referees, you know, I think you guys need to look at. I am not sure that one can, like, there's a lot of them. Like about half of the stuff is referee related.
Put that in.
Well, it's currently sponsored by Andrew Simpson from Swamp City SC, but it was originally written by FLSRC.
Oh, so she found somebody to get it in for her.
He found somebody to, yeah.
Andrew
Okay.
Simpson, FYSA.
Formerly FYSA, currently FLSRC Zoom administrator.
But
He's a good guy.
he's not an affiliate.
Yes, he's a coach. He's a coach for Swan City SC. That's
Okay.
how.
So she's already starting off on the bad foot. But she wants to do stuff her way. She couldn't get it past the 2 ladies up there. And she found a way to get through it without getting anybody who was an affiliate to do it. Why couldn't you get a club to do it?
Why are you?
Well, he is a
speaking in
club. I mean,
code,
he's a coach at a club. I mean, probably if she's a parent, she could have passed and try and push it as a parent. I think she was trying to push it as I know what
It's
I'm
the
talking about.
SRA.
Yeah. But SRA is not a member of Florida Youth Soccer Association.
Of course not. They won't, they don't want to be a part of us. They want to take our money and run.
I mean, some of the stuff is common sense. Like, you know, if you're a minor, you have to have an adult present at a hearing. I mean, it's not, I mean, none of this is major stuff.
That's
My
always
concern-
been in the rules.
I know. She just cleaned it up, I guess. My concern is if you're going to say, as a club, you need to host a referee certification course, but that's not a thing, then why are you putting it in? However, like I said in the last DOC meeting, she might know something we don't. She might be going back to in-person certification courses, and she might say that's something we really, really need. I think all of us who are signers or who deal with having shortage of referees will probably feel that's a good thing. Now, how much burden does it place on a club who might not have a room to do it in or whatever? You know, that's
Yeah.
a whole nother ball of wax.
They're going to have all the assigners come to their meeting at the AGM to do the assigners course.
Yeah.
They're going to have a live assigners course.
We have had it for last so many years. Yeah.
Yes, I went to them and all
Yeah, you were there.
everybody's doing it. Thank you. Good night.
Barry?
I mean, like one of the things was added, for example, if the offense of insulting or abusing language is reported to be hate speech, and that wasn't even by her, like that was by DEI, you know, like I guess there's some stuff we just have to be compliant. So there's like then you add extra 2 game suspension for that. Like there's stuff like that. But I just encourage everybody to read it and let's discuss it next time we see it, unless we just want to talk about it.
I think the next time we see it is at the AGM.
Well, unless Carlton has a thing in 2 weeks.
True. True.
Russell, do you know if the Region A AGM took place of the Region A roundtable? And how the hell are we gonna have time to do that in our schedule?
Well,
We
that's,
did it last year.
that's the FISA plan, but it's, that, I can tell you right now, that's not gonna work. But FISA seems to think it will work.
No, Lou, it did not happen last year, Lou.
No, it didn't happen that. Last year, we had a regular one.
We had 80 people last year in a tight room with no AC.
Right. That wasn't the roundtable.
No,
No.
that was
That
the
was the AGM.
Yes,
AGM, which they canceled due to money.
I mean, there should be no shortage of money.
No,
Commission,
That's for
you know,
sure.
Joe, you remember this? A Commissioner's Cup used to be regional. You would pay the fields, you would pay the referee assigners, you would spend money on hotels, you would spend money on maybe T-shirts or flipping coins or whatever.
we would
I
also
know the
have a
numbers
budget.
of teams that participated have gone down, but they have spent no money because it was all self-scheduling.
it
So
was, it was 100% self-funded with the remainder going directly to the main budget of FYSA.
yeah, well,
Correct.
now
Oh.
everything is a remainder because
But
there's no
before
really
that,
expense.
it went to the VP's.
Yeah, but that's been a while, Lou.
I
That's
used to have
been,
a bank account.
yeah, but that's been a while. They took that away a long time ago. So I just don't know where they're gonna put the AGM.
They haven't discussed it with us, and like I said, I personally, I don't think it's gonna work.
So
You
if
can't put that
if you're
many-
gonna do it on a Saturday, that means nobody goes to classes on a Saturday?
Nope, I think they were expecting Thursday. But
Thursday.
not everybody's gonna come up
They're out
with
of their minds.
to be there. I don't know
You
what their idea of doing this is just, to me,
The
it's-
cost on that is unrealistic.
yes. Because you're talking about clubs having to pay for an extra day to be there.
But that's
Or
the way,
4 or
that's
5.
the way we used to do it in the state that we came from.
But like Tom, how many people do you have going to the AGM? You personally, your club.
This
not you.
year, it's
Yeah.
just me. I used to go with a big group, but to be honest with you, last few, there hasn't really been anything. Like I run out of things to listen because it's all the same stuff, repetitive. So this year, and it's also bad timing this year, I'm going by myself. Normally I have, my family with me and, 3 or 4 or 5. So last year I tried to cut it down. I only went 3, which is why I asked Carlton to bring most of my local board to our local AGM. But as you said, the room was so full, Carlton shut me off and he said no more than 2.
Yeah, we had too
but-
many.
Yeah, but we had too many people. So this whole thing about there's no interest in going to regional AGM is BS. And the second thing is for those of us who are in South Florida, like I'll go, you guys will all go. But for some clubs, they might just not be able to afford to send everybody
For
to
sure.
Orlando. So having a local, representation and being able to, if I have 11 board members, I'm not taking all 11 of them to Orlando. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I could have taken the ones that are really active to a local one and say, well, you got a little, feeler what it is. And if you get really involved, the next year you'll go up there.
Hey, Russell, do we know when they're going to be posting the proxy forms for the AGM?
Tell you the truth, Jeff, no, because they haven't mentioned that yet either. And that's one of the things we've been, or at least me and Carlton is like, okay, you guys gotta get on the ball with something because we don't know nothing and we can't tell our region anything if you're not giving us any information.
We-
So they haven't told us yet when
They're
the
too
proxy
busy.
is due.
They're
and
too
when they're gonna
busy
end.
going traveling to see the games.
We're only 3 weeks away, guys.
Yeah,
I know, but they spent the weekend someplace. And then they
Well-
took a couple of days off after the weekend.
well, other than the fact, yeah, they went to Tennessee and evidently we dominated Tennessee, mainly Region A, as we always do. And after that, then I haven't heard hide nor hair from them. Even when I'm calling up there trying to get information from them, they're not there.
Well,
It's like, okay, why isn't nobody here?
what we need is to apply to the Federation to the Federation for South Florida. a North Florida and a South Florida. We'll have our own.
Sort of like California.
And
Couple of them.
Texas.
There are 5 or 6 other.
Yeah, I think then like New York or New Jersey also has one too. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
but-
Yes, East
That's long
Pennsylvania, West
overdue.
Pennsylvania.
And we never did it, and it's long overdue. Need to be done someday,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, to Tom's
Talking
point as
about that
well,
forever.
it's, the expense is one thing, but we want to make sure that Region A is well represented. So, I mean, it would be great if they could get the proxy forms up so that we would have that to send out to our members.
I talked to Carlton yesterday, or the day before. That's his biggest worry, that Region A is not represented. And I guess Russell would be the best to ask. He says every vote and every board meeting comes from Region C.
Yeah,
she sits there and doesn't say anything.
yeah.
Uh,
That's pretty much the way it goes. Even though, because a lot of the problem is you guys in South Florida hand out the information, you tell them what we can do, and not all the clubs follow through. Like I
Yeah, for
called
sure.
about 20 of them last night. And if I can get 5 of them to tell me they go to the local AGM. I was
Hello?
lucky.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Barry.
Okay, fine, sorry. Dave.
Go ahead, Russell.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I couldn't even get 5 out of my region from, let's say, from Boca up to say, okay, yeah, we gotta go. I barely got 5.
Wow.
And it's like.
To all
okay,
these
you
new
guys
clubs
don't
that
know,
wanted to
okay.
get in so bad.
Say that again?
What happened to all these new clubs that wanted to get in so bad? They don't even want to go to the AGM?
No, they're not interested. And that's one thing me and Carlton was talking about. They're the first one to complain about everything, but yet they don't want to participate. This is probably the easiest way to participate. You know, you got representatives from the leagues and us who want to be the representative up there. But you would think, okay, tell these guys something what we want. Let's have a meeting, discuss what we want, and then we can all take it up there. But we can, like I said, we can't even get these guys to commit to go and do our own AGM.
So as of now, we expect perhaps something next weekend. Right?
That's what we're trying. We're trying to push either Saturday or Sunday, the 23rd or the 24th.
And when I've talked to the FYSA office, I've said to them, you don't have to send 5 people to all the AGMs, and you can appear by Zoom. And for Region D, for both the people that show up there, who cares? So what's the point? I don't get it. They say it's a $40,000 investment. I say with Zoom, you don't need to be. And I understand the personal interaction does help. It is important, but that's what the AGM is for when we get there in August. And so let's just, I don't think FYSA is coming down here to try to make us do something that's not in our best interest. They should just listen to what we have to say, which they can do by Zoom. They're not going to contribute much, although they're very good at what they do, to make a difference here for us. That sounds too arrogant, but it's true. And that's it. So let them figure out the rest of it. I mean, B and C, they aren't traveling very far.
No, they never do.
And D's a waste of time anyway.
No, how do you
Well, I
really
mean,
feel?
it is. I mean, there aren't that many people there.
Yeah, but they got more players than everybody now.
Region
does?
B?
Region B, yeah.
No,
Region
D
B,
is
yeah,
in
Region
dog.
D's got nothing.
No.
D,
D.
No, I said D has nothing. They're a
Yeah.
waste.
Yeah, we could give Region D back to Alabama.
Wouldn't hurt anything, because you guys didn't hear that from me.
Do we say a few things about the AGM when we're going to be up there? Saturday, we'll have a dinner. Not sure where yet, obviously, but we will figure it out. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome. We host it. Just let me know, and we'll be coming with you. We'll have a hospitality suite to conduct our own meetings that we need to. Usually we have a meeting with some of the heads of other leagues in the state. We try to get them together to try to make some sense of what all we're trying to do and how FYSA can help or get out of the way of what we're trying to do. And we'll let you know when that's going to happen.
Get the
We hope-
new
we hope
leagues
to-
to deal with you?
Sorry?
Those new leagues, do they ever deal with you? The EDP and that other new one?
No, we don't
Not with
exist to
me.
them.
We had, as you know, we were there and we had director of coaches meeting a couple weeks back. I thought it was a very positive experience, although it got, in my opinion, a little off track of what we're trying to address, but that's okay. We have to read and react to what other directors of coaching have to say. And I thought it was generally not as productive as to creating an atmosphere where we can work together, because there were so many divergent opinions as to things like relegation and promotion and things like that, which is not the best way to deal with a youth soccer construct when you have freedom of movement between clubs and teams and leagues and stuff like that. So that was a problem. But it was good to have everybody together to talk about it. We expect that we'll host something in November for the World Cup. I guarantee you it will not be the day after Thanksgiving. We have a lot more respect for everyone's families, although it may hurt my divorce practice not to have it that day. We will not have it that day. Well, one of the other games, probably the game after that. And as for the league, Jeff, before you fill you in on the signups and that approach, what we're doing, I think the general response, and Jeff can correct me, was that to stay with the spring or the fall and spring seasons. And as for playoffs, we ran into all kind of things that were good and bad about it. Those who participated, I think, had a very good time. The venue was fantastic. The hospitality there was fantastic. The organization there was fantastic. It's on the other side of the state. Well, we didn't go there because we wanted to go there. We went there because no one here offered anything for us to use fields that were local, which we've always tried to do, because that's where the bulk of our membership is. But I think that's it for that part of it. And if there's anything I can answer, any questions about league-wise, please let me know. And other than that, Jeff, why don't you talk about what's coming up for the league and signups?
Yeah, I did have a couple of things. One, the fall season declarations, the initial deadline is this Friday. That's the date that we will guarantee you a spot. After that, we'll start looking at some consolidations and reaching out. I realize a lot of people are on vacation right now, and some of them are just getting back. I've had a lot of people send me emails of late. Can they extend the deadline and all of that? So we'll typically do it the way that we normally do. I'll be sending out another email reminder to all those that haven't started making their declarations. And I usually will send something out to clubs that had declared in the past and haven't done so yet. And then I usually get oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I'll be doing that over the next couple of days. There's some of the questions that I've gotten are from some of either the newer clubs or those that didn't play in the fall last year, asking about when we will start the season. And you can kind of imagine the fall as more of a combination of both the early and the regular season as it exists in the rest of 2022. And what I mean by that is that we will try and get the older age group started before Labor Day, the U15s and up, because of the high school interruption that occurs in November, and try and get most of those games scheduled to coincide with the beginning of the high school season. And then the younger ages will start right after Labor Day and go for the fall season. All the games will be available through the end of the year, but we will try and get those older age groups with the high school impact, at least the initial scheduling complete prior to or just during that first week when high school practices start. But again, they'll be able to reschedule and play through the end of this year. So if you have questions from your teams about that, especially those that may be moving up into that high school age, you can give them that information. The other thing that I wanted to remind, if any of you have had teams that went on to the regionals or have gone on to nationals that did participate in South Florida United this year, not individual players, but the actual teams themselves, we do offer a $1,000 stipend for each of the ladders that they climb. So if they got to regionals, there's $1,000 for those teams. I know that we did have some teams, but we haven't had anybody ask for their stipends yet. So if you would reach out, if any of you have any teams that did so, we help you out for the stipends and that. The other thing that I did have is there anyone from Hialeah City Football Club online? Joe, did you see anybody? They have submitted a request to become a league affiliate. Osmani Pelez, I believe, is their club president, and their information is that they play out of, let me pull this up. They play out of Goodlet Park. They have an 11v11 field plus 2 7v7 fields, turf. They all have lights. They've been using these fields since 2018, and they have a U8, 2 U8s will be playing U9s, a U10, a U12, a U14, and a U16. They didn't differentiate whether they were boys or girls or both, but they have asked and are seeking South Florida United membership. Seeing as they're not here, they did ask me if I would go ahead and present their case for them if they couldn't make it. So is there any objections to them becoming members? Lou, I see you got
Jeff,
your
are they
hand up.
FUYSA affiliate?
Yes,
In,
they are.
what are the name? What's the
FYSA
name?
I never heard of them before.
Hialeah City. Let me see if I have their code in here. I did ask them for it, and I told them that they would have to definitely be I think they're HCF. I can't pull it up. It's not listed on this form, but assuming that they are, and that's a good point, Tom and Lou, that assuming that they are, then I would just need to know if there was any objections to that. Christine, are we twirling hair or we've got an objection? Not a problem.
Twirling my hair, sorry. I have jet lag. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I get
Joe,
that.
I'm
especially
just jealous of
nowadays.
people who have hair, so move on.
Do we have any questions, any objections to Hialeah City other than their potential affiliation status?
No?
All right, I will reach back
That's
out to
fine,
them and
Hialeah.
confirm prior to allowing them to make any declarations. Tom, if you find out anything, let me know.
Yeah, I'm actually writing a letter to Joel right now to find out if their club listing thing on the website is up to date. We don't want to say somebody
It's
not.
Hialeah City Football Club. Their club president is Osmani Pelez, P-A-L-A-E-Z. And that's all I have. Barry, anything else for me?
Okay, can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Sure,
Please.
Lou.
Is there something that you are thinking about or planning to try to help with teams that are going to tournaments at the last minute and changing schedules?
Just say no, Lou.
Yes, I try to do that. And then they go to you and you tell me to go ahead and let them play.
The only time that I will intervene is if it's a state cup game that as a conflict. That's the only time I'll intervene. Anything else, if you tell them no, I will tell them no. If you tell them I don't care, I will. The only thing I will say is if both teams, are having a problem, I'll say, is there anything that I can do to help work some resolution? Usually there's additional information that, is not being shared. But in this case, the biggest part of the problem that we have with game changes is people won't say no.
Well, I learned how to say no a long time ago.
In Jeff's defense, if Jeff's defense, you should see how bad it is at EDP. I mean, over there is like they're actively fighting you. When somebody calls you on a Wednesday and say, and Jeff, I know you're going to interrupt me, but they say, oh, but I'm going to State Cup. I said, but State Cup dates were announced 2 years ago. The schedule was announced 2 months ago. Today is Wednesday. And by the way, your team is not in State Cup. Yeah, but coach wants to go and he's going to borrow a couple of players. Really? I
Yes.
mean, it's like, so what? Anytime you have one player playing somewhere, you can't play. And then you
what
do them a
about,
favor and,
what about the coaches who are coaching 3 teams?
That's one of the reasons why we had coaches meetings when we did it live, while we required everybody to have somebody new. We don't recognize coaches that coach more than one team. You have to have somebody. What if that coach gets tossed with a red card? Who's coaching that team the next week?
Let me ask this question. For those clubs that have, they're present, obviously, who have teams playing in leagues other than ours, as opposed to playing in both our league and something else, what is the reason those particular teams have decided to play elsewhere as opposed to we are? What are we not doing that makes it best for them to be here?
as much as I hate it, God's sport. Not for
Okay.
points, for scheduling purposes. Those of us who deal with the schedules, we want it in one place. I don't care if we take the points away, but having to look at all of my fields, and Jeff tried to do something but the opposite direction with putting it into his graphical interface, I double book my fields all the time. I'm lucky enough to have extra fields, but then it's scrambled for referees. I don't care about points. I did care a little about cheating clubs, and I felt that doing it through God Soccer, back the old good ones, was a little bit harder to cheat than PDF file where you can type anything you want. That has improved, but still not perfect. But for purposes of scheduling, if I have PBSL, CCL, and Miami's even, I think, using it now, Palm Beach, EDP, everything is in one graphical interface except for SFUYSA. It just makes it hard. It's not personal. Put it in a freaking system that sucks.
What would we need to do to fix that problem, if that's a problem, if we chose to?
It would cost you $7.50 per team to do it in God's sport.
Okay. Well, anything else? Any other reasons?
And maybe somebody's against this, so let them speak too. I don't know. I see.
Do you
I don't know that, so I was wondering. Any other reasons?
do you
Yes,
think
Christine?
Tom, do you think the Got Sport chat is effective when it
No,
comes to,
it's useless. No.
it's
South
awful.
Florida United game change features are, and I'm saying this as a guy who runs 2 leagues and has to manually use a special form to do the game changes. No, absolutely. I mean, it's
I think the way that SFU do it is, I mean, I guess we're used to it, but it's the best in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the best for that.
Yeah.
No, for that is the best. Now, Christine, I don't think the old one was bad. The Got Soccer one wasn't bad.
I just feel that with the Got Sport one, we have teams that turn up to a game and the other team's not there, and it's like, oh, we sent you a message on Got Sport last night at midnight. It's just like that. It doesn't work.
Well,
that's how the leagues want to do it.
Yeah, but that's a rule. That's a really easy rule fix. When you say you can't change a game after Wednesday or whatever, I don't care. You send me a message on God Sport. I mean, listen, I've had coaches who did not work for me anymore. It happened to be South Florida United. It's not the league's fault. He got a message in Spanish. In Spanish, he replied, "No problem," and that was enough for the coach to say, "I told you I'm not coming." The coach who's not working for me, who was still listed as a coach, said, "No problem." I mean, like, if you're looking for that. It's not, for me, it's just graphical interface, all the games. I mean, you know how it is. You can't, there's a reason why tournaments are using it. I mean, not because they have many choices, I guess, but, and there's a lot of bad things about it. Maybe we just need to find a better communication method. I don't know what it is, but that's really all it is for me.
Yeah.
I would say, I think, and Jeff can correct me, I think that right before Mike Weber passed away, I think we were on the verge of possibly maybe doing something, but it didn't happen. And then,
One of the things we had done, Tom, is we've reached out to them to see if they will give us access to their field information via an API so we could have all that. And they've basically refused. So that might be something that, FYSA could get for us. And I can reach out to Joel and see, because I know that Mike was going to try. He had some deal going with them in the past so that all the information on the fields could be integrated.
Yeah. I keep asking every meeting with Godsport. I always ask, when will you allow import? And they tell me export. I mean, dumping something in a spreadsheet, because that's like the easiest thing. That's, and you've done it the other way around, Jeff. I mean, you've built your own graphical interface. It just doesn't, They'll never give you API.
The one thing I like to make a comment on
Please.
is there are a lot of these teams that we play that change these games. You have coaches that are coaching multiple teams. And when that happens, they turn around and they get one game change and it impacts their other teams. And you try rescheduling a game because they can't, something caused them to reschedule one game and they turn around and they have to cancel or reschedule the other ones. And as a club, I mean, you either say yes or no, and sometimes you say you can't do it, but other times you just plain don't want to say no because you may have to ask the same question of them. Hey, I need you to change the game because, they have some big birthday party or some school event that all these kids are going to. And I know we try to work with them, but you just have that problem. We had one coach, he says, hey, I have 5 teams I'm coaching. How in the world can that?
And I need travel time between each game.
Yes, that's right.
Just say no.
I mean, that's
I remember when we first started with this, most everybody here remembers this was the Sunday league. They only played on Sunday. There was one schedule that came out in September, and that was it. Those games didn't get changed.
I mean, it's almost like you have to sit there and say, this age group or there's going to be certain times these games will be played, and that's the day you play on. And then, or a time period. I just don't know. But right now you have all these coaches who are getting paid, and because you're being paid, they get all this money coming in. They're coaching 5 teams, 3 teams.
And they have to be at the game because they're getting paid.
That's right.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
it's
I will
all-
tell you, Barry, I mean, obviously, I told you what my problem is. The other concern I hear is, and I don't agree with it, obviously, because I'm perfectly fine with it, is, oh, you get fined for everything, I don't think you do as much, God forbid, I'm not going to say it the wrong way since Larry has been gone. But, that's not my concern, but that's one thing people complain about. The problem is, if you don't find them, you'll find out. Just look at EDP scores from last year. You'll see leagues with 9 teams where the whole division had 2 games played because nobody showed up to anything. So you entered into this league and you never played any games.
We're sensitive to that in one way, that's not what we intend to do. But if you don't do that, then you're not going to encourage people to adhere to the rules, and it's not good for the team to do adhere to the rules because when at one point in time we had like 15,000 kids playing in this league and like 1,200 teams, and it's like if you don't make rules you're going to stick to, then what are we going to do? You can't allow those kinds of things to happen. So I get it. I would only tell you that the money that's collected in fines is going to extremely good things to happen, such as scholarships for kids who are in college and stuff like that. But that's not the important thing. The point is the only way you can administer a league of this size in 8 counties or 8 or 9 counties, wherever we are, and the amount of teams we have, is to make people adhere to rules. Because you start not doing it, and by the way, I would say usually the people come to the meetings get it because they're not the people who are usually
you preach it to the choir. Yeah.
I know, right. But that being said, the only way you can administer a league of this size, whatever size, is to make people adhere to the rules. Otherwise, it screws the people who are doing the right thing, and that's never been something that we all want to have happen. So that's it. And so we can live with that criticism, and we're comfortable with that in the way that we don't want to do it, but just do what you're supposed to do. It's not like these rules are so onerous or so difficult to comply with. Everyone else seems to do it, so why can't you?
No, they're not. And what I'm saying is maybe you just need to put for those people who this is a problem. Which, by the way, maybe it's better we get rid of them because then we'll just play games if we won't have problems. Let them go play in EDP, right? But and I say this as a club who has teams in both leagues. but maybe you just need to advertise and explain to it. If you don't, I would just take your, I don't know, U17 boys division and take theirs and say, we played 12 games, most teams, and they played 3, and this is what happens when you don't have the rules and you don't have the fines. It's not about collecting the money, I'm very lenient, wasn't in the beginning in Palm Beach, but you have to do it and actually we just bumped up some stuff up because it's like some bad behavior repeats itself unless you curtail it.
I think people have to be held to account, and
Yeah.
there's so much entitlement in South Florida that if you don't hold them to account, then they'll just continue to think that it's okay to break the rules.
I know
Listen,
one of the things happens is all the time is, okay, Jeff comes out with the schedule for the whole year, right? And then you'll get somebody in the middle of November say, oh, I'm doing a Thanksgiving tournament this weekend. Well, when did you put yourself in that Thanksgiving tournament? 2 days ago? In the meantime, now you got to call the other team up to see if they can cancel the game. And that seems to happen a lot because it happened with us a few times where, yeah, we're doing a tournament this weekend. Well, you wasn't doing that tournament when the schedule came out. And I remember a while ago when you guys started, that wasn't an excuse to cancel a game. If you're
Still
going
not.
to do a tournament that you just put yourself into.
It still isn't. But you know what? Let me spin this one a little bit. And this kind of goes back to Christine and both of this. Obviously, it's still not an excuse. But there are clubs, let me see, they're not on this call, who don't communicate at all. So if you say in September, I'm going to go to Thanksgiving tournament, and that club does not reply back to you, maybe we as a league have to say, listen, and this is where the chat in Godsport is like the only thing that I tell the leagues that I run through Godsport is, unless it's in there, I don't care that you send a text message because I can't verify a screenshot. You tell me that it's anything, you know what I mean? So having that central location, the only authorized method of communication, says, hey, listen, I'm not going to answer the name of the club here, but we all know who they are. This club contacted you about a tournament they're going to play at Thanksgiving as soon as the schedule came out, and they reached out to you 4 more times and you ignored them at some point. And I know, Jeff, what you're going to say, well, then you don't go to a tournament. That's one thing, if you're trying to negotiate and you cannot come to negotiation. But if the other people are just ignoring you, just to then get back to you on a Wednesday before the tournament that you chose not to go to and says, oh, yeah, but you told us back in September that you're not going to go. So we just never assume you're going to come. I mean, come on.
Actually, what I would say, Tom, is that if you let me know before the season scheduled that this specific team can't play on this specific date, they won't get a game that date. So there won't be any chance of a problem. But most of the time, the clubs don't know when they're going to play until the week before. And then they expect the other team to have to, compensate them because they failed to plan. But if you've planned in advance and okay, my team is going to play in this cup and this cup, and that's it for our tournaments this year, I'll block that weekend for that specific team. And you just have to put that in your field.
How many playable weekends do we have this coming year? Do you know?
I think there's
Weather
like
permitting.
16.
And you're shooting for 12 games, right?
Yeah, well, anywhere between 10 and 12, right?
Yeah, so I mean, like a West Pine Kickoff Classic or Wellington or Western or whatever. I mean, some of those tournaments, I think you should just black out those
Yeah,
weekends.
but if I block out, I don't want to block out a specific weekend because not everybody's playing, and it makes the schedule difficult to manage if you don't. I mean, because there might be 2 teams that aren't playing in the tournament and they can play that weekend, and then
Yeah, but they can just they can agree to move the game to that weekend then, right?
they can. But what happens is that then if there's all these other constraints that you get to when you're running initial schedules, you may run into a situation where games can't find a date because of all the different constraints. So it's better to tell me on a team by team basis or on a club basis. A lot of times what will happen is I might get a club that'll say, look, Weston, I think is a good example. They say, look, we can't do any games on our fields this day, or this team can't play on this date because they're doing that. And Weston's been very good about, providing that information. And as a result, they don't run into a lot of those conflicts.
I usually put it on the field declarations. I mean,
Correct.
I've said this before, but the problem is there's far too many tournaments. It's almost like every weekend there's a tournament.
Yes.
That is part of the problem. I mean, guys,
But that's down to our DOCs to to control the number of tournaments that teams enter?
It's impossible to control at the FYSA level. The rules, and Tom, shake your head up and down, but the rules are so broad, they have to absolutely agree to every tournament.
Well, they have to allow the
and-
affiliate, but they don't
Right.
have to, you don't have to enter, like Christine says, we can choose not to go, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think as clubs, I mean, I'm not a DOC and I don't have any decision on technical matters, but you know, I think DOCs of clubs need to do a better job of controlling how many tournaments teams go to.
FYSA was gonna black out some days, but I don't even think they were allowed to do that.
Hey,
I'm-
Jeff,
you're gonna hate me for saying the next thing, but I'm gonna say it anyway, right?
So
So,
we hate you for a lot of things too.
yeah, okay. So another reason to use God's sport, right? Sometimes we have to get those freaking points, even if we don't want to. I'm not the club. You can look at my rankings. I'm not anywhere top, right? So when you're playing in a league that gives you the points every time you play a game, you can probably get away with not having to play tournaments. If you play in a league that you don't get the points, then you might have to say, shoot, I got to do 3 more tournaments because I'm not going to catch up with somebody in another region. You know, I have recreational teams that are getting points playing GHSL or whatever, just because it's run through God Soccer. Again, we hate God Soccer for this. I get it, but you have parents and you have coaches and you have whoever, you know, bills to pay. So maybe if we were getting those points for every game you play, maybe, wishful thinking, maybe somebody would go to 1 less tournament a year because they won't have to chase those points. I said you're gonna hate me.
So is a solution to sleep with them to make it better for you guys?
Say it again.
Is a solution to sleep with them to make it better for you guys?
Sometimes sleeping with them is not a bad thing. Depends who they are.
But it's the clubs and teams that are attracted to that. The league isn't.
Again, I'm saying it's not for the purpose of...
and most people in our league will tell you that that's an imperfect attraction. But if it's the attraction that matters most to everybody else, that's just, if all of you want, this is your league, not ours. If all of you guys want, you know, that's something you have to consider. I don't want to do it. It's not my decision to make those. It's your decision to make.
I think probably the reason that those points are so important is a lot of these tournaments won't put you in the right category with teams you should be playing in because your points. But let's just say I play South Florida all year and I'm doing good, having a great year with it. And then I want to go do a tournament, say, in, I don't know, Georgia, anywhere. But I don't have any points to speak about how good the team is. So those knuckleheads might stick me in a bronze bracket instead of possibly sticking me in a silver or gold because I don't have any points. So that's the only reason why I think the points are good. Other than that, screw the parents. Because that's the first thing we tell them. If you're going to go look at points, go somewhere else and play.
So as a guy,
points.
Russell, so as a guy who Santos has to actually schedule teams, I would say I agree with you. The only reason I care about points is so that when I'm actually bracketing teams, and Christine, you probably have to do the same thing.
I don't do it, but I understand. I don't.
Yeah, at least I have an idea
Yeah.
what they really look like rather than what they declare. Because you have teams enter and say, I'm bronze, and say, no, you're not. You're gold. You just want to win this tournament. And the other way around. So it's not a perfect indicator. I'm not saying it is, but at least it gives you an idea of what those teams are doing. And when you're running the tournament or league, and it's everybody declares last minute, you don't have time to say, well, now let me go look what they did in South Florida United last year. You're lucky enough if you have time to look within that listing that, and by the way, the points have been kind of broken for the last 2 years. So it's not like points are important. I think when Mike Weber and Jeff finally talked about maybe doing something with God Sport or God Soccer back in those days, unfortunately, the points were like the thing that, at least my understanding from Mike, was what we've kind of settled on. You can get the points for $750 a team. I mean, all you need to do is manually score the games in God Sport and not use any of their functionality except Jeff can on the back end every week, export the games, dump them into God Sports, score them artificially, and we get points. You can get points easily for $7.50 per team. That's not why I want God Soccer. I want it because of the scheduling. I want it. But I mean, that part is fixable. So I'm just telling you, as far as, if we're concerned, this was a completely different conversation. If we're concerned about too many tournaments, maybe some teams will go to less tournaments if they're getting points elsewhere, or maybe they won't forfeit games as much. Maybe they'll actually show up and play their games because, not playing the game means you lose 30, whatever, you don't lose, but you don't gain,
Let me ask a question. Do the points enhance the sport or just appease the parents?
No, they ruined the sport.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Do they appease the parents?
Yeah, 100%.
parents, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
The
only thing.
parents ruin the sport too, but that's okay. We're stuck with them.
The players are not looking at the points. They just want to play a good game.
It's the parents that are always looking at the points.
Exactly.
And
So-
some coaches. Let's
Oh,
be
yeah,
honest.
you get some. Yeah,
No,
because
I
you get
get it.
ones
I
like Tom- yeah,
get that part.
like the one was Tom was saying, you get the one coach who knows he's a gold team, but he'll go into a bronze bracket,
he
slaughter
wants a
everybody
trophy.
just to get the points.
And a trophy. Yeah.
It's both ways, Russell. You were talking about you want to challenge it because you're a good coach. You want to challenge and play in a higher division, but I find that just as many who just want to do the opposite.
Yeah, people want to do it.
You can say what you want about points or not points, but no one gives better trophies than we do. I mean, we get trophies bigger than the players who are playing it. Come on.
Barry, I'm going to let Joe take over the last bit because I have to duck out to another meeting, but thanks, guys.
That's okay. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to add tonight? Not Jeff's time we can talk about. No. Anybody else have anything else they want to say?
The last thing we have to do is just by a show of hands real quick, how many people are going to be able to go to the Region A AGM? Because I'm texting
Region A
Carlton.
one?
The
next
Region
week,
A
the
one,
weekend
the
of
one
the
in 2
23rd,
weeks.
24th.
The 1, 2,
A week
three,
from this Sunday or Saturday,
4
whatever,
of you, 5
right?
of you. Yeah.
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 Okay.
I think Ingrid probably will go for us.
Okay. I
Right.
mean,
So
Well, Lance has got to be there too. So
On Lance, yeah.
yeah, I know that people have to be there, but
how about the AGM in Orlando?
Ingrid's
Everybody
going for
intend to be
us.
there?
yeah,
Ingrid's going
Good,
for us.
okay.
yeah.
Well, when you make sure you let me know in advance, make a proper reservation, everything for Saturday night. But yeah, okay. But I mean, obviously, once they get the proxy thing straightened out, if you can't be there for any reason, or your representative can't be there for any reason, make sure you give it to someone who's going to be there, our board, whatever. We don't care how you vote. We just care the votes are counted. That's all.
Anything else, anybody? Raise your hand. Most of you
Did we
are.
listen? We didn't have a
open.
quorum. We didn't have a quorum last time. Didn't we supposed to have elections?
We should have mentioned that 5 minutes ago. Jeff just stepped off. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but just looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We'd have to figure that out.
Yeah,
I mean,
without
Tom
Jeff's
is a good
votes
point.
here, I don't think we have that, Tom.
I didn't even think about it.
But I remember last time we couldn't do it because we didn't have a quorum.
Right. Well, I don't know if we have one now either, but here's what we'll do. We'll have Jeff count the numbers by tomorrow.
Well, there's 23
we have
clubs
to do
according
it
to his
somehow-
last list, so we would have to have at least 12, and I don't think we do.
No, I'm looking at the list, Tom, and we do not.
Okay, so what we'll do is this, we'll figure that out, and we'll have the January 6th commission consider if we need to be impeached. Thanks. But in any event, if there's nothing else for purposes now, and John, we'll address that. Thank you. We will be in touch somehow, email or otherwise, before we are up there in August. And obviously next week, hope we can see everybody and we'll go from there. Anything you need between now and then, just let us know. We're here.